Will you handle?
Yeah, it's there.
I didn't panic. That's
All right, Mr. Clinton, we are technologically ready to go.
all right. You ready, Gary? Good evening. This is a continuation of the June meeting of the Botetourt County Board of Supervisors. We are addressing two items related to planning and zoning, comprehensive plan, and so on. And the first one has to do with Lansford Brothers and zoning requests.
Thank you. Well, good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Thank you for the opportunity to present this evening after a very long afternoon session. This request is out of the Valley District. Lansford Brothers Company Incorporated requests a rezoning from the industrial M1 use district to the industrial M2 use district with possible proper conditions located at 315 Industrial Drive, Roanoke, and identified on the tax maps as 106C24. As far as zoning goes, this request is located in an area that's already heavily industrialized. It is located, for reference, just behind the Pepsi plant in the unnamed industrial park, very close to Hollins on the Roanoke County border. The proposed uses associated with this request are contractors, equipment, rental, and service, excluding retail sales. And the uses are permitted by right in the industrial M2 use district, which again is what you're considering this evening. Just for a little background on the property, the parcel is currently occupied by Integrated Scaffolding Concepts, which deals with the rental, purchase, and service of scaffolding used in building construction projects. Lansford Brothers own the parcel and currently lease it to Integrated Scaffolding. Previously, the parcel was being used as a truck terminal to the exclusion of all other uses, as was required by 1997 approved special exception permit. County staff became aware of the new use of the property when the tenants called the Community Development Main Line to request a sign permit. County staff then informed them the property that this would not be a permitted use in the M1 district and they would have to rezone the property, which is why we are here tonight. The applicant is not offering any proffered conditions associated with this request. Integrated Scaffolding, as a business, they have 2 employees at this site. Business operations occur from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday. Materials are delivered to the parcel via flatbed truck on an infrequent basis. And storage of materials occurs on racks and pallets and utilizes a pre-existing storage building on the site. It does not look like Integrated Scaffolding has made any substantial improvements to the site. However, if they were to expand operations or make any sort of substantial improvement, that would require a site plan that would be handled administratively by staff if the M2 request was approved tonight. I would also like to note here that any other use other than rental or contractors, equipment rental and service would require a full site plan. If Integrated Scaffolding were to vacate the site and any of the other M2 uses were proposed. So fortunately, this is a very simple request. That is all I have. The applicant, Mr. Lansford, is in attendance and will be happy to answer any questions you have, although he does not have a presentation or anything like that planned.
Any questions from board members?
I'm good.
Does the applicant have anything to offer? Okay, the matter lies before us then. Pretty straightforward to me. Yeah, well, I wanted to see about us first. Nothing. Okay, if nothing from the board, I'll open the public hearing. Comments from the public? I'll close the public hearing. Open for discussion. Yeah. Any comments at all? I'm in favor of
I
it.
don't have any.
If no other comments,
Second.
Thank you all for the motion and second. Further discussion by board members. I'll entertain a motion. You did give it, yeah. All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? That motion carries, and we'll move on to item number 2.
thank you all.
Thank you.
Well, good evening, Mr. Chair, members of the board. Thank you for being here tonight after a very long afternoon session. Hopefully tonight won't be quite as long for you. So tonight we have a owner-initiated request for a change to our future land use map of our comprehensive plan as the legal advertisement states. In the Amsterdam District, the Botetourt County Board of Supervisors have authorized consideration of a property owner-initiated petition for an amendment to the 2010 Comprehensive Plan's future land use map to amend the future land use designation from medium density residential to conservation/100-year floodplain located at and adjacent to 879 Catawba Road, Daleville, and identified on the tax maps as 100-40 and 100-41. The crux of this is that the Lees would like to place their property into a conservation easement. State code requires any conservation easement to be consistent with the comprehensive plan. The front part of the Lee's property here outlined in yellow, as you see, which is zoned R1, is actually within the medium density residential designation of our future land use map. For this to be consistent with the comprehensive plan, they need that to be placed in the conservation portion of our future land use map. So it's a small portion of the property that needs to be in there. As you can tell, the property is zoned R1 and A1. It's a 75-acre property that's bisected by a rail line and Tinker Creek as well. There is a little bit of floodplain identified by the hash marks there on the screen in front of you. This is an aerial view of the image. Directly behind the Lees runs the Appalachian Trail that's up on the top of the mountain there. It's a beautiful piece of property as you stand at the top of their property, kind of at the highest point looking down on the creek. There is some fields, there's some trees. It's really a beautiful piece of property. There we go. So this is what I was mentioning about the comprehensive plan. The star on the left side of your screen denotes where the property roughly is in relation to the comprehensive plan. The orange piece is that medium density residential. For this conservation easement to be in line with our comprehensive plan, they would need the entirety of their property to be placed into the conservation/100-year floodplain portion of our future land use map. So the property is right off Catawba Road. It's about a mile to the Catawba Road US 220 intersection, just to give you some better frame of reference as well. Included this photo here as well. This is an aerial image that shows the sewer and water lines that run in the area adjacent to and onto the property itself. The green line is a sewer line. The blue is a water line. So the applicant has indicated that blue line on the backside of the property is actually defunct. It had a well that was served some of the adjacent farm homes there. I'll let them speak a little better to that than I would. Our public records show that it is designated in use according to the Western Virginia Water Authority. I'm not sure how accurate those records are, but it is shown there. So I wanted you all to be aware of that. There is that sewer line that runs through the center of the property as well. The closest water line off of the property is on Catawba and makes kind of a right turn into the Wentworth Lane, Wellington Lane, residential development there as well. So it's relatively close to Roanoke Road, and it's starting to get into the more rural areas of Catawba as you follow Catawba towards a cement plant. So at the Planning Commission meeting, they voted to recommend approval on a 3-2 vote. The dissenting votes were concerned about taking a piece of property that has relatively close sewer and water lines out of the future land use map designation for medium density residential. Otherwise, they agreed with the need for conservation and preserving land in the county as well. There were several property owners that came out to endorse the request. The neighbors, of course, expressed some of their displeasure of the current development progression in the area and on Catawba Road. There's also some discussion about the ability of the property owners to continue the current use residential with some conservation there without changing the comprehensive plan, essentially continuing to maintain the property as they are now, and that the landowner wishes should be considered as well. So the request for you all tonight is a comprehensive, either make an approval or denial or tabling of the comprehensive plan map amendment. The Lees, the property owners, are here today and they have a presentation for you as well. I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have. Otherwise, I'll turn it over to you to bring the Lees down. The natural gas line? I am not entirely sure, to be honest with you. What's shown here on the screen is water and sewer. Natural gas line may run near the property, but I'm not entirely sure. I can definitely look that up for you. Unfortunately, I just don't have that with you tonight. And the Lees may be able to speak to whether they have gas at their property or not. Apologies for not having that for you.
Other questions from board members? Anything? I'd like to bring the applicant forward then, and I'll open the public hearing.
Sure.
Evening.
How's everybody? Long day.
Yeah, good evening, everybody, Mr. Chairman, rest of the committee. We appreciate you giving us an audience today. I know you've started earlier today with a bunch of other things, and I echo our previous speaker's sentiment that you guys must be tired, and hopefully we can make quick work of this and end on a positive note. So as Mr. McCoy stated, we are here in hopes that our application to put our land in a conservation easement will be granted by this board. And I trust that you all have read our letter of intent with all of its information, links, etc. I trust you have either discussed with or read the transcript from the Planning Commission hearing a couple of weeks ago. And we have a presentation which I could embellish more about our feelings on the subject, but maybe with everything that you know and heard already, if we're ready to approve, we can just go home early.
I think in the interest of due process, you ought to go ahead and give the presentation.
Yeah, that's what I figured, but I appreciate the opportunity to make that available to you all. Yes. All right.
So which one? You can just take the mouse and scroll a little bit. Right.
So in this process, I've kind of learned a lot about the county, its board, its website, all the documentation on the website. And based on some of the comments that the Planning Commission made a couple of weeks ago, we thought we would like an opportunity to address some of that in our presentation. We were not afforded that opportunity last time. And so I'm sure you all know generally what conservation easements are. for your benefit, if you need that information for the benefit of anyone else sitting here, this slide just represents a very brief overview definition of what a conservation easement is. There's a legally binding and permanent agreement between a landowner and a land trust company with the overall goal to prevent development in perpetuity. It is uniquely designed and crafted with specific constraints written into the agreement and can be catered alongside the goals of the county for the benefit of everyone. The conservation easement does remain as private land and may be sold carrying the easement forward in time. Conservation easements do not automatically make properties open to public use. Generally, that's what a conservation easement entails. And so what are we asking from you? We feel we're not really asking very much. And I could read this slide verbatim. I can provide it to you if you want later on. But, you know, I think Mr. Schneider of the Planning Commission said it very well and intelligently when he opened his remarks with, and I believe it's a quote, "This is a simple decision." It is our hope that you all agree to accept this voluntary effort towards conservation, and adding a small green swath in that bright orange is going to benefit everybody. The comprehensive plan has changed before. There were comments from the Planning Commission kind of relying on the comprehensive plan almost as an excuse to vote no. The comprehensive plan is a living and evolving document. I mean, that's what a plan is. It's not written in stone. It's not gospel. It's made to be developed, changed, depending on what's going on. I just witnessed you make a change for the previous party who was here. Now, I'm not equating our circumstances with theirs, but you made a change. We wish to continually farm our land to protect and balance the area, balance the ecosystems. The property has been in my family since 1939. I mean, my kids are the 5th generation to live on that property. And we feel that we have an investment in Daleville, in Botetourt County. We're here forever. We have a forever home. We're not someone who's renting an apartment in Daleville Town Center who's transient and doesn't have a real interest in this community and who might be here temporarily. We have a home that is close to 120 years old, and that is part of this area and community and county that is more and more becoming extinct, so to speak. You know, our property borders on both federal and state property. The Appalachian Trail runs across the top of Tinker Ridge, Tinker Mountain, which is a border of our property. Catawba Road, which is also a federal scenic on-road bike route. And we have 7 other private landowners who border our property. And I don't intend to speak hearsay and put words in their mouth, but I have not heard one person who opposes our wish on this. And just to be transparent in everything we want to do, you know, I mentioned my kids are the 5th generation. We have 3 children, 2 daughters, son. and a granddaughter. We may include in our easement an option to build 1 or 2 smaller homes on the property to accommodate them in the future, but you know, that's it. There's some upgrades to our house that we might want to do, like changing our heating system from you know, the traditional oil to geothermal is something we've been thinking about a lot lately. And so that's kind of what we want to do. So in addition to those little things we want to do going forward, in addition to our heritage of the property, in addition to all the cultural conservation benefits, we're asking you to vote yes on our project.
It might be a good time to address your concern or your question rather
Oh,
about
yes.
the natural gas. There is no gas on the property.
There is no gas line on the property. There is a gas line that runs on or under Catawba Road that actually stops to the property, to the Booth property that is to the left, to the right of us if you're looking at our house. But the sewer line exists, yes. That one water line, I believe, is defunct. But there is no gas line running through my property, as far as I know.
Right, and that water line, all the power has been ripped. There's no power. We were up there just very recently. Okay, whoop.
All right, so you know, we think that our request, you know, shouldn't be that difficult. I mean, we feel in pouring through the county's website, all the pages that give direction to the future plan, that give mission statements. We believe we're just doing what the website, what all your documents, what all your mission statements already say. The comprehensive plan is meant to be a guide. It's not written in stone. Again, Mr. Snyder, I appreciate all of his comments and wisdom at the Planning Commission, but according to the county, the comprehensive plan is general in nature. It's not specific. Again, it evolves. The plan should be reviewed once every 5 years, which again inherently defines a plan as something that is not set in stone and will need to be reviewed and amended. It also specifies that areas of the county that shall be general in nature. Just because the current future comprehensive plan says there's a huge swath of orange in Daleville doesn't mean it has to be. There are a plethora of, and I didn't include every single one, but there are a plethora of times on the county's website and in your documents that say there, and I'll get to a few of them, you know, in subsequent slides, that indicate there needs to be a balance. There needs to be a balance in nature, in development. We're not opposed to.
Critically here, at this point, very close to Tinker Creek, which feeds Roanoke City. The water funnels down into a protected creek. So it's not only just our land and we want to make it, there's a lot of reasons it should be protected, and the land, all of the land along Tinker corridor, that mountain corridor, because of the effects in the water and in the environment and how it protects the air. I want to jump in, sorry.
You are, you know, you're the brains behind this, so you can jump in anytime you want.
Ready?
Let's go.
Okay, they've seen that before.
again, you know, there's Virginia code that says we all have to have a plan. Yeah, everyone needs a plan, but again, it's not set in stone. And the plan doesn't need to be everything in this area needs to be high density. Let's make a concrete jungle. It's not what Botetourt has ever been about. It's not what our website, your mission statements profess the area to be. And I'm not sure, there's a couple of small points about mistakes for some of your maps that we were going to point out, but you know, going from, you know, my family moved onto the property before there were any zoning laws. There was nothing back then. Catawba Road was a dirt road. Now we're into this, you know, I mentioned at the Planning Commission meeting, we're headed towards being in New York City. I mean, I don't think anybody here wants that at all. Simply designating an area, again, on a map as a certain potential use doesn't mean it has to be that way. And so I don't know how that came about or why or who did that, but you know, it's a plan, which is not set in stone.
And the point about this slide really is the exponential harm potentially to the environment when you upgrade from low residential agricultural to boom, medium high density. There's a big difference there for the ground, for the water, for the air, a very big difference. And I don't know that there have been, maybe there have been, careful studies about the impact on the environment if you were to follow this color-coded map and really densify the area. Have there been those careful studies, the impact on the environment and the water source, and is Roanoke on board with all of that and how they're going to be impacted, the wastewater and the sewage treatment plants? That's a huge thing to do. And I think to do it radically is a mistake. I'm a very kind of conservative, like, okay, let's talk about it person. And I see a potential flaw. I understand though, it's like, oh, it's just general. It's a general map. It's something we might do. And this is kind of the area we want to focus in, is close to get people to 81. They can get into Roanoke quickly, whatever the rationale might be, that you're concentrating everything and a landfill and an industrial center and Titan cement all right here, as opposed to adding some green space. And that's really what's pushing us. We want some green space. Not for us, we have it, but for our neighbors and for everybody in Botetourt and in Daleville specifically. Ready?
Well said.
Okay. Current land.
So this is a snapshot of your Gateway Crossing Area Plan, which is a great plan, has a lot of good stuff in it, but currently we are in the yellow. But on the future land map, we're in the orange. And part of the, again, mission statement of the board of the county is to have a balance. One of the small things that kind of jumped out at us in looking at these planning maps, it's, in our opinion, somewhat misleading because the arrow points to my driveway. My driveway is not a street. It's a driveway. And there are several other driveways, both to the right and left of us, that are showing here for all intents and purposes as streets. And if someone's planning and doesn't know the area, you might think there are a bunch of houses already there. You might think those are streets and easily developed, but they're not. The Planning Commission had an opportunity, and I would presume that they know the topography of the area and the land and everything well, being that they're in charge with the plan. They had an opportunity to come visit our property and only one of them showed up. So I'm not sure if they all really understand what's going on, because it just leads me to believe, if I'm a planner just looking at this map, it looks like it's already developed. So maybe our driveway can be taken off the map.
And the other driveways too, because it is misleading. Ready?
Yeah. Another small point we wanted to make regarding some of the planning commission's comments was that maybe someday, living in this hypothetical what if world, somebody might complain what we might do on the property. We're attempting to do something here to plan. We are planning definitively to do something that will carry forward and benefit everybody. We're not in the hypothetical world. But to address that, this is, a copy of your current comprehensive land. It shows a big swath of yellow, which includes our property. But interestingly, the yellow swath borders both commercial and industrial properties. The industrial and commercial properties borders another piece of property, and there are more than one location of land already in conservation easement. So, for there to be a concern, we might do something that somebody else might complain about, to me is not a persuasive argument, given that we already have land that's butting up against industrial and commercial use. So I'm sure the people in the yellow who are right next to them, I don't know how they feel, but they might be impacted by the light pollution, the noise pollution, et cetera. This is, again, another snapshot of the county's future comprehensive plan. It shows the water lines and the sewer lines. That one kind of what we believe is a defunct water line, which ends abruptly on our property, is shown there. And it has a lot of other blue that's not on our property for water lines. And so this tells me, yes, the sewer line is there. But this in the floodplain, but this tells me that even on the future plan map, there's no future plan to put water lines on my property. So again, there's a lot of stuff going on in the county with building and everything. And I don't mean to get off on a tangent on other kind of projects. I mean, those are maybe conversations for other days, but it's all related. The circle of life, everything's connected. So why is all this development compressed into one small area? Rhetorical question, but
We've already touched on this a little bit.
yeah.
Just the need, probably a lot more answers before we get heavy into tearing up the land and destroying it. And we got to understand what's going on in the aquifers below the land, especially how it impacts Tinker Creek and where that water is going to go. Basically what this.
Right.
Okay.
Uh,
You want me to start?
So, again, the background picture here is from your, homepage on the website. And I thought it interesting that, and rightly so, we are promoting and advertising the country. We are promoting and advertising rural areas. We are promoting and advertising, the bike paths that are around Carvin's Cove. We are, if you just spend 60 seconds on your homepage it cycles through 4 or 5 images, all of which are very beautiful pastoral mountain scenes. I mean, I didn't see one picture anywhere on the website of sheets, for example. Botetourt is a dynamic and vibrant county of rich, carefully protected and preserved historical and natural resources that make it like a place like no other. That's a direct quote from your website. We don't want it to turn into other places. And putting our land in the Conservancy is what we can do to make a step in that direction. We don't want, it may be even too late, hopefully not, but it may be, you drive down 220 in Daleville and you could be anywhere. Dairy Queen, CVS, Dunkin' Donuts is coming in, I understand, in front of Food Lion. Massive apartment building complexes, which also the code for building those have been changed to accommodate that build.
Height restriction.
Right. So the county is selling the Blue Ridge Mountains. It's rural atmosphere, healthy lifestyles. You're doing that on your website. And the developments that are going on, and we propose the developers themselves have a deliberate business model to promote their brand. They have been successful in their efforts to secure amendments to the comprehensive plan, turning our undeveloped area into their pocket with strategic incremental steps to change so that they can further exploit the area. Is our opinion, again, I mentioned earlier that these are not areas of forever homes. People who are really interested in being here in the long term. What we have here is already priceless, and the great outdoors should remain our calling card. The corridor of Tinker Mountain, which parallels Catawba Road, and which is also Bike Route 76, should remain protected, not only for environmental reasons, but for tourist reasons, celebrating the rural appeal of the county, our farming heritage. Our conservation easement can help guarantee in our part that Daleville doesn't completely become devoid of natural, undisturbed landscape. And if somebody else to the right or left of me honestly wants to follow our lead, I will support them. We need diversity in our plan and development, and not just blanket swath of orange. We really have to pay attention and reevaluate and balance the growth in the area. We need open space, natural habitats for wildlife, access to recreation, non-polluting transportation methods such as bike lanes, walking, and that vision of a balanced growth and community in our area is ours together to develop and move forward with. What if Botetourt, what if every inch of that orange turned, into housing? I'm not sure even the Planning Commission would even agree with that. We have permission, our own permission from ourselves to be different and not be like every other place, which is what your mission statement in part says. We don't need another Target or Walmart or Costco. There's plenty of them around, and people come to Daleville, come to Botetourt County to get away from that.
Page 43 of the comprehensive plan
Yeah, again,
We get to pictures in a minute.
you know, is the county participating in innovative thinking? Is the county encouraging the use of conservation easements, as the Planning Commission's website says? Their mission, part of their mission statements, is to continue to incorporate innovative development techniques into zoning, such as cluster developments and conservation subdivision design. And it doesn't say we're going to make everything a concrete jungle. The Planning Commission also encourages the use of conservation easement programs at the discretion of private landowners. You encourage it. So that's all I'm trying to do, is be in line with, in part, the plan and get encouraged. I don't necessarily feel encouraged during this process. I mean, I've already, and all of this is going to be at my expense. We're not asking anything from the county. We're not on county water. We have our own well. We're not on county sewer. We have our own septic system. We have electric, thanks to Appalachian Power. But I'm already out of pocket $640 just to get up here and have an audience before you. To me, that's not encouraging. That's not encouraging the use of conservation easement programs at the discretion of private landowners.
Mr. Lee, it would be best probably if we focus this on your particular issue and not whether the county is thinking innovatively or not. You know, it's a fair question, but
Sure.
The matter at hand is what you want to do with your 74 acres.
Right. It's a fair question. And again, I think in all respect, it's all related. So to this slide, the county is encouraging conservation easement programs. I want to do a conservation easement program. That's a direct hit.
Who is the, or what organization is what land trust will be?
Blue Ridge Land Conservancy, and they were here at 2. They had seen it on a 2 o'clock agenda at letterhead, didn't realize that down below it said 6 o'clock. And also with them was a representative from the Appalachian Trail. So they very much want to support this and wanted the executive director wanted to be here, as well as the Appalachian Trail representative for our district. They got caught by not really reading. So I apologize for that, because I like to check and I didn't do it. So I'll take responsibility.
Conservation easements, I mean, ordinarily they're large acreage, right? I mean, not always, but usually larger than 74 acres. And I'm going to hypothesize that, and they're usually out by themselves. As you showed in your maps, you're surrounded by subdivided properties, and they're R1.
Well, they're not part of subdivision. I don't know how you
No.
define that. I guess you would know better. They're just private landowners, as opposed to estates and home group of housing or Weatherwood. These are just individual landowners that are around us.
If the ultimate purpose of it's not the only one, but the ultimate purpose of a conservation easement is to protect that property.
Yeah.
And your 72 acres, again, is surrounded by you're right, not subdivisions that are commercial, but they're subdivided. What real risk do you see that it's going to be developed in a haphazard way, or a way that's contrary to good stewardship? Your surrounding property is what I'm saying.
Well, I mean, the risk is that it's encroaching already. I mean, there's two addresses, 2 doors down from me that they're clearing now. And my understanding is there's a plan to build 190 or something, attached townhouse units or whatever on what is like 40 acres of land.
Let me go back to that slide. It'll show you because it's the triangular. It's one of the arrows where we say there's no road. We say it's a driveway. It's not even a driveway. That triangular area is part of, I believe, property that's owned by the same developer or the same builder at Daleville Town Center. And they propose, I don't know, have the exact number. Maybe John has that number, or if it's not been published yet, I don't know. Rumor, 90 homes, who knows? But that's the threat, you know, and also we don't think that's the right move for Botetourt or for this particular area of rock and shale subterrane. How it impacts Tinker Creek and the water supply. That's just our personal opinion, you know, digging up the land, flatten it out, and let's put some houses there is not what we want. That's all. We want a conservation easement on our property. And I didn't think 74 acres is an insignificant amount. But I got zero pushback from Blue Ridge Land Conservancy. They're excited because it would be contiguous to the same trust that they have around Carvin's Cove, where there's all those public bike trails. I'm sure you know about it. I don't need to describe Carvin's Cove. But there's all kinds of recreational opportunity on the other side of the mountain. So Blue Ridge Land Conservancy was very excited when they did a walkthrough with us. And if you want to hear directly from them, I'm sure they'd be thrilled to talk to you. I think they've already sent you a letter, the executive.
We have a letter.
Yeah, sure. So I think expresses clearly.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, but
Yeah, you know, I think up top, maybe at the letter. Anyway, I won't get caught in my suggestion.
but yes, part of my motivation for this is, you know, ancestral.
Is what?
Ancestral. My ancestors were here and have been here for a long time. And I can only control and contribute to the future benefit of everybody in the county with what I have. To answer your question, I mean, yeah, I don't know what my neighbors are going to do eventually and what might happen in the future. I don't have a crystal ball. And I addressed some of that in kind of one of the last few slides I have based on some of the comments from the commission, the planning commission. I mean, this is kind of gratuitous. This is just, we can flip through these slides quickly. They're just photos of our property and the views of our property from Catawba Road, which are, you know, I think you would agree, yeah, speak for themselves, serene and pleasing. And it's not like we're looking at the front of a Walmart store.
Something that's particularly important about this slide is it shows the slope of the back hayfield downward just beyond that tree line. Oh, here's a point. See that move? Right behind there is the railroad easement that goes back and forth in the middle of the night to, and then beyond that, Tinker Creek is about there. And then there's a very steep slope up the mountainside. We hay farm about 22 acres. You know, we farm for hay and the front two fields along Catawba Road. So this shows the creek and part of the land that we inhabit. You know, mating season for the frogs is really exciting if you're a science kid.
This is on your property.
This is our property. Yes, that's my son when he was little. But you can kind of see the water draining down from the mountain. That's how fast, and that's just after a fast rain. That's not even flooding the creek. So it's considerably wet there when it rains. All along here, all the way up to the tree line of the mountain as it goes up, and also on the other side. And this shows conversely the other perspective. This is the back of our house from the bottom of the hill. You see the slope. It's slopey, and that's why I'm concerned with the water. The water collects and drains directly into a pond behind our house. It's another view when the fog, disappears the mountain. Keep going.
Mhm.
So there's the mountain and our hay farmer, who's a little cut off there at the bottom. These are the front fields. This is the other side from the Appalachian Trail. This is what it looks like on Carvin's Cove. So that's how close we are. Here's the pond in between the railroad and Tinker Creek. That is a collection for water in times of heavy rain. Wildlife that all of you are also, I'm sure, privileged to see every day at your homes and thereabouts.
Let me interrupt you.
Yeah.
This is good and it's interesting and it's compelling. And it's accurate. It's certainly a beautiful piece of property and fragile piece of property that you have. I can't speak for the other board members. I don't think there's anybody who would disagree with what you're saying. My only question, and might come up out in further discussion, is given the fact that this is a relatively small piece of land among a lot of other properties that are, you might say, foregone to industrial development or railroad or whatever. And I'm not asking for an answer to this. I'm just express my concern. How does it really accomplish your long-term goals other than protecting your own property, which to me is fine. That's fine as a long-term goal. I'll just say I'm a little bit skeptical, given the location of your property in what is essentially a developed area, if you will, not literally, but more or less. Given that, I'm not sure it will accomplish the kind of grandiose goals that you're seeking. It will certainly for you. I'm just expressing, maybe I don't understand it, but I'm expressing some misgivings about the overall goal that this conservation easement will fit into. I'm not sure that's all that important, but I have that concern. But if we can just table that and ask, not table it literally, but is there other comments from board members at this point?
No.
Anything?
No, sir.
Just a quick question for Mr. McCoy, because I don't have the math in my head. It's 74 acres. If it were, how many houses could potentially be on there at medium density residential? I don't know that number. So I want to know like how many there would be.
It's a difficult question to answer, but it depends on how it was rezoned.
And I'm thinking of that back would probably, the steep part, I don't know.
Its topography is a little bit of a challenge on the property as you go on the other side of the creek going towards the river.
Right.
Pretty significantly up the mountain. I would really be remiss to try to give you a number. I'm sure you could probably fit quite a number of houses on it.
But at medium density, we have there's some rule for acreage, right? For lot size. With zoning. Okay, that's my bad. All right. But it's not officially zoned that, so it would depend on how the zoning went as to how many houses. Good deal. Okay.
Yeah, if that were to happen, it would still need to be rezoned.
And that was a hypothetical. I just was curious how many we would look at there. Thank you.
Uh,
Go ahead if you had some kind of closing.
Are you
remarks.
cutting us off or shall I continue? I mean, to more directly answer your question, Mr. Clinton, again, I don't know what people are going to do on the right and left of me or in front of me or behind me. I doubt anything's going to happen behind me because of the Appalachian Trail, but again, I can only control my property. I don't know what everybody else is going to do.
But that's kind of my concern in the big
I
picture.
mean, but yes, my longer term goal is to preserve the whole corridor. I mean, if be honest, I mean, I would love to see other properties join us in this, and I would love to see the whole south side of Catawba Road be protected and remain the beautiful vista that it is. Just to address Ms. White's question, I'm not honestly and respectfully sure where you're going with that, because
I wanted to have some idea in my mind.
because we're not selling,
Good.
and I appreciate that comment, but
Yeah.
I don't know what the motivation is for wanting to know how many houses we can fit in there.
I just was curious as to is it 10? Is it 100?
But what
If it
difference does
were
that
to be
make?
Developed.
But what difference does that make? Whether 1, 2,
It was just
100?
a question. How would it look? Like I'm trying to envision,
Oh,
how would it look? So I just thought there was a acreage, but Nicole corrected me that there's no acreage attached with this. It's because it's not zoned. So
appreciate it. Yeah.
it's just a curiosity question.
Right,
Oh.
there are incremental changes that would need to happen in order for a prospective developer or individual to purchase and divide up that land. Understood.
Now, I'm not saying I want the houses there. I'm thinking how many would it be if that were to come to fruition? That was why I asked the question.
So you have a general sense of the space it would be taking up, three-dimensional.
Ms. Bess,
All right. And again, I know,
did we open the public hearing? We think so.
I mean, I know we've probably been up here longer than you all expected. And if you indulge me just for a couple more minutes, I want to and feel compelled and feel I have the right to address some of the concerns from the Planning Commission who voted no, and the reasons why they voted no, which directly impact our application. Mr. Kidd, I believe, was going to vote no, regardless of what I said or what our application said. I believe erroneously, he went on some roads that are almost patently false. To answer your question about people on the side of us, he said, what if we grant this easement and someday you want to put a pig farm on there? People are going to complain. Well, I'll say, if you put apartment buildings on either side of us, how are you going to respect my feelings for the light and the noise pollution and et cetera from all the development that's going on around here? And Mr. Kidd is on the Planning Commission. A conservation easement, I'm not sure he completely fully understands it, but given our land, its location, its proximity to Tinker Creek, the Appalachian Trail, the floodplain around the creek, the easement agency was not open to us having a pig farm, as Mr. Kidd was concerned about. And I believe, even regardless of me being here today, regardless of me putting the application in, regardless of what happens right or left of me, if I wanted a pig farm, what would you all say? No, because you don't allow it in this area in the county.
Let's just keep it on the subject at hand.
Right.
And I'm going to.
So anyway, that's
kind of got
one of the
ahead of
reasons why he said, and I just want to point out, pretty much every member of the Planning Commission on some level was in favor of this, and falling back on the comprehensive plan as an excuse not to do it is short-sighted, in my opinion. And
It's guidelines, like you say, fully.
Right.
It's not a sacrosanct.
So
Okay,
I'd be happy to address any other questions or concerns. I can
This is
go
something
on and
we
on,
need to
but
do anyway, so I'm going to open the public hearing.
great.
So.
I appreciate you hearing me out,
Public
and
hearing is open, and
thank you.
I think everybody who's here now was here for that discussion. So here's the question for the public hearing. Does the public have any questions? No, well, just be
If
comfortable.
they have
Make
questions
yourself
for
comfortable.
you can answer them.
So any comments from the public? Yes, sir.
I think what was had an explanation, what is to help you make your decision. Those are questions. And then, you know, or can you decide you're not there? And now it's not a part of that. Natural, there's nothing better than what God created.
Just- Ms. Lee, if, for that, you should come down here so we can all hear.
Can I want to be able to face him. You want me to face them? Okay, fine. So a land conservation easement is unique to us and it's a crafted document. So what we do is we say exactly what we want. And it'll hold to those constraints. It'll hold, and we want the ability to build up to 2 houses, the end, on the property. So, and I have a feeling we're going to have 3 kids living right there with the 2 extra houses. It has those restrictions for livestock because they do consider how it impacts the environment. That's the whole purpose, is to protect the environment. And yeah, we're putting our money where our mouth is, which is counterintuitive to other thinking. Because sure, if we were to sell this property, we'd have a long line out the door and a lot of happy people ready to help us. And it's just curious that here in Botetourt, and just maybe it's the climate, everybody wants to improve, and we're all for it, improvements. But I think it has to be careful and it has to be unique to Botetourt, and you have innovative thinking around it. You could have a dairy creamery. You could have things that are unique to Botetourt, and that's what we want to do. Keep Botetourt exactly as it is, because when you walk across the yard, it's bumpy, because that's how the land is. It's rocky. We haven't made it into a country club. It's peaceful, but the land is exactly natural. And I think natural open space is a distinction between open space, because a park that's been beautifully manicured could be considered open space, but natural open space is much more critical to the environment, to the woodland creatures, and a respite for everything that keeps human life going. Does that help, Shannon? Oh, yes, and it does carry forward. It's not revocable. So, and we're interested in crafting this alongside with the goals of the county, totally transparent. I'm not here to hide anything. How can this best serve us in the future? And open space will never be a problem. It's not an encumbrance, really. And I think an easement is typically, we have in our mindset that it's like an encumbrance, and it's not. This is allowing the land to be an asset forever, for the future.
Do you have the criteria, is it already settled between you and the land trust?
Not at all, because they're waiting for your approval, because it's a costly event. Not only just to approach you, but it's a significant cost to us with the Land Conservancy to hold our land. And we also have to work with attorney to draw up this land trust. And then it becomes recorded. So that's a price that's roughly $25,000. But there are all kinds of grants, you know, and I implore the county to explore opportunities for conservation easement grants because it can
Did you
reflect
say that
well.
this would exclude livestock?
Yes.
Okay, so
And-
no livestock at all?
Yeah, it would be inherent in the easement because of the underground water traveling to a public water resource, which is Tinker Creek. And Tinker Creek, I believe, is an endangered creek. It has endangered species in it, and it's on a register. But I can peel back that rabbit hole of information for you if you like.
Okay, thank you.
Is that good? Yeah?
That, ma'am, keep it, yeah, between you and us, and so, sir, is that okay with you? Did that answer your question? All right, thank you.
Another comment right there.
All right, great. I'm sorry, I can't hear what you're saying.
He'd just like to address us.
Well, this would be an appropriate time.
Good evening. My name is Rich Maxwell. I live on 3223 Catawba Road. Our 150 acre farm is very similar to the Lee's in that it runs from Catawba Road up to the Appalachian Trail. We also are in the situation of looking at a conservation easement for our property, and a small portion of it in the front part is in this residential, medium development residential. And I wanted to correct a couple. Oh, I should also tell you that my wife, Chris, is here with me tonight. And also, I have no involvement with this conservation easement, but I am an attorney. I have helped Donna and Jerry Henderson with the conservation easement on their dairy farm that adjoins our farm. I've also helped James Hancock with the conservation easement on his property. I have also reviewed hundreds of conservation easements for the Blue Ridge Land Conservancy. And Chairman, I can tell you that there are a lot of conservation easements in the 50 to 100 acre range. It's not just 300 or 400 acres. There are a lot of them. And it really, and conservation easements are not revocable. They're very tight. They preserve the property. And the question really isn't about development. It's a question of preserving land in perpetuity. In perpetuity, that's what it does. And the Blue Ridge Land Conservancy gets a fee from these people, because I know I've seen what I have to pay them. So they in perpetuity can come and inspect the property and make sure that they're living up to the requirements of their conservation easement. And when they said 2 houses, that'll be built into their conservation easement, and they can't vary from that, ever. But the critical question is really, what does this do for Botetourt County and really everybody that drives on Catawba Road, which has been increasing exponentially? And it's critically important. We drive down that road every day and you get to see the beauty of that area. And now we have somebody who's willing to take their land, forego the profit that they're going to get from development, and say, no, we want to preserve this. But they're preserving it for more than themselves. They're preserving it for their neighbors. They're preserving it for everybody in Botetourt County. And I've jokingly told myself, we ought to put up a sign. May I have
You're
another?
okay.
Just finish up with.
Okay.
Consensus.
We ought to have a sign that says, when you come up on Catawba Road, slow down, enjoy the view, because it's incredible. And it's people like the Lees that are willing to do that, like the Hendersons that are willing to do that. So I wholeheartedly support this. I have no involvement other than being a distant neighbor. And I think that it's critically important then we do that. And if you have any questions of me, I'd be happy to answer them.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Any other members of the public care to make a comment? Then I'll close the public hearing.
Chairman, if I may.
And the Blue Ridge Lane Service and see what their thoughts. I certainly wish that they were here, but I would certainly like to do that. That's a possibility. I'd like to bring a board member with me if I could.
It's a privileged motion.
Could they come next
They,
time?
they could.
If we tabled it, would they come?
They had they were here.
Right.
I can't guarantee something because we're on a tight timeline, right? Every Tuesday, fourth.
That'd be wonderful.
Mr. Lockby, motion to table, is that a privileged motion?
Gosh, I can't remember whether it's a privileged motion. If it's been made, if there's a second, then
Just
move
get a
forward
second.
with it.
Yeah. You need a second.
Say that last
It
part.
does need a second.
It needs a
It
second.
needs a second.
So
does
if it
need
gets a second, then it gets a
Then
vote.
we'll wait a second. Is there a second to Mr.? Or a second to Mr.
I'll second that. I think they do deserve the right to speak. They came here. The timing was just wrong. So I would love to offer them the opportunity to come. And I think one of you said there's a lot of questions. We've had a big day today and we've had a lot of stuff. I want to make sure we give this adequate thought, adequate attention. And I'm fine if we table it till our next meeting. Okay. Okay.
I'll say that I've had a fair amount of experience with conservation easements and I'm a fan of them. I think this is a good offer. But I have no problem with tabling and making sure of it, so.
Individuals can come and talk as they selected to do and they couldn't.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, right. Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we table this for what period of time, Mr. Scott?
we're asking them, it's
Next meeting.
yeah, kind of when they can get them back in. So hopefully the fourth Tuesday of the month.
Can you do that or do you need an additional month to?
I mean, I think if they couldn't come next month, we could either go ahead and vote because we do have some time to talk, or we could table it again.
I'd say go for 2 months and up to 2 months and you can bring it back sooner if you want.
Up to 2 meetings.
Up to.
Talk with them and talk with John and coordinate the schedule. At time. There's no,
Okay.
so I.
Yeah.
In the room, we're not rushed, but we are deliberate. We want this to happen.
Obviously, and I appreciate your presentation, your comments.
Wonderful.
You've obviously put a lot into this. I don't want to rush a decision. I want to make sure we give it the full attention.
So I think, Steve, it's up to 2 meetings.
Up to 2,
And
right.
she'll let John know.
And if they can come next meeting,
So
let
be it.
us know, let John know. and you'll be back on the agenda at 6.
Fine with us? Perfect. Any questions you might? Display? But if you have questions.
Okay.
You can see, walk around.
Awesome. Thank you.
Any further business to come before this body? Entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
To move.
Second. All in favor, indicate by saying aye. Aye. We're adjourned.
Haven't left this chair in